We are live, sir.
I would request all the other participants to put their mics on mute in case they are not speaking. Good evening, everyone. On behalf of the Jindal School of Banking and Finance and OP Jindal Global Institute of Eminence and deemed to be university, I, Chavi Asrani, Assistant Professor at Jindal School of Banking and Finance, extend a very warm welcome to everyone joining us today. Two reasons that we have collected here for this virtual session today are, firstly, to witness the signing of a very important partnership between OP Jindal Global University and IPTSE Academy. And second, to listen and learn from the perspective of Mr. Ramanan Ramanathan, who has successfully shaped innovation policy in India and has benefited many young people. We are very grateful to you, Mr. Ramanathan, for joining us today for this session. We also thank all the speakers and participants joining us today for the session live via Zoom and YouTube. We are thankful to all the viewers who will be watching this session after a few days from now. The OP Jindal Global University and Intellectual Property Talent Search Examination Academy partnership will benefit the young innovators and entrepreneurs at the JGU and students interested in learning and understanding more about copyrights, patents, and innovation. We at Jindal School of Banking and Finance and OP Jindal Global University are thankful to Dr. Chopra and Mr. Saurabh Sachdeva, without whose prolific efforts this partnership wouldn't have been possible. We are also extremely grateful and thankful to our senior professors and colleagues, Professor Dr. Patnaik, Registrar JGU, Professor Dr. S.G. Srijit, Executive Dean, Jindal Global Law School, and Professor Dr. Ashish Bhardwaj, Dean, Jindal School of Banking and Finance, Professor Dr. Kirti Pendyal, Assistant Professor and Assistant Dean Outreach at JSBF, and Professor Ashavri Chaudhary from JSBF, without whose effort and support this partnership between JGU and IPTSE wouldn't just have been possible. Now, I request Professor Dr. Sridhar Patnaik to deliver the opening remarks. Professor Patnaik is not only an exceptional lawyer, a senior professor of law and registrar JGU, but he is among the small group of people whose effort and support has been indispensable in enabling JGU achieve the tremendous success and heights and recognition that the university has achieved in such a small frame of time. I now invite Professor Dr. Patnaik to deliver his welcome remarks.
Thank you very much, Chavi. Good afternoon and good evening, everyone. I'm happy to be here with you all this evening, and I take this opportunity to extend a warm welcome to you all to the virtual signing ceremony of the MoU between the OP Jindal Global University and the Intellectual Property Talent Search Examination Academy. We are also delighted to have with us this afternoon Mr. Ramanan Ramanathan, who is the Senior Vice President of TCS and the first Mission Director of the Atal Innovation Mission. I take this opportunity to appreciate the leadership of the Jindal School of Banking and Finance and the IPTSE Academy for having conceived this idea of entering into a collaboration. And I'm particularly grateful to Professor Ashish Bhardwaj and Professor Kirti Pendyal, Professor Ramchandran, and our long-time collaborator, Dr. Sheetal Chopra from Ericsson, and Mr. Saurabh Sachdeva from the IPTSE Academy. I also acknowledge the presence of my esteemed colleague, Professor Srijit, the Executive Dean of the Jindal Global Law School. On this very auspicious occasion, I'm very happy to share the news with our keynote speaker and partners, the achievements which JGU managed to accomplish in a short span of time. JGU was recognized as an institution of eminence and as a #1 private university in India by the prestigious QS World Rankings 2022. And JGU has also been recognized among the top 150 universities globally under the age of 50 years by the QS Young University Rankings. We have also made steadfast progress in school level rankings. The Jindal Global Law School has been ranked as India's #1 law school and also was ranked as the world's 76th best law school by the QS World University Rankings by subject. The Jindal Global Business School's BBA Honors Program has been ranked third in India among 125 such programs that were ranked by the coveted Outlook iCare Rankings 2021. As a global university that was recognized as an institution of eminence by the Government of India's Ministry of Education, we take our interdisciplinary approach to learning and teaching quite seriously in all our courses and programs. And as this MoU rightly showcases, the OP Jindal Global University focuses on innovation, creativity, and entrepreneurship, bringing in disciplinary interests from the School of Banking and Finance and from the Jindal Global Law School in order to train our students on variety of these areas that intersect with intellectual property. And I believe it's very important to train our students to build their capacity in these areas. We are also well placed to implement the goals of the MoU as our strengths are augmented by various initiatives we have taken up in the field of intellectual property since the establishment of the university. We have an active research center on intellectual property and technology law. The center's objective is to lead research in the area of intellectual property, open source, and technology law. And in particular, the members of the center focus their research on new and evolving areas such as patent prosecution, technology transfer, patent protection in the pharmaceutical and software industry, trademark protection to non-standard marks, development of copyright law in the digital era, and protection for community rights and indigenous knowledge in terms of alternatives to traditional forms of intellectual property protection and open science understanding. In addition to this, the center encourages collaborative work with an interdisciplinary approach and the use of economic analysis and empirical methods to resolve complex social problems are often invoked by the center. As most of you may be aware, we have also established the Jindal Initiative on Research in Intellectual Property and Competition, which is popularly known by its acronym JIRICO. It is a think tank set up in the year 2015 to inform and contribute to public policy making by undertaking cutting-edge research and high-level deliberations on topics at the interface of intellectual property, competition, and technological innovation. JIRICO focuses on global developments with a special emphasis on the Indian policy environment, which can inform stakeholders about the issues in this particular area. And JIRICO also provides a unique platform to facilitate dialogue among industry partners, policymakers, regulators, practitioners, and academicians. And I'm so grateful to Dr. Sheetal Chopra, who collaborated with us over the years and participated in many of our programs. And I'm also happy to state that JIRICO has received a research grant from Qualcomm Corporation to conduct many of the initiatives for which JIRICO was established. One of our most recent accomplishments happened to be again in the field of the area which we are discussing this afternoon, the interface of innovation and technology. And the European Union awarded us a grant to set up the Jean Monnet Chair for conducting research and teaching in the areas of technology law. And we also have a vibrant Masters in Law programs in the areas of intellectual property and technology law. And we are also proceeding further by starting a new specialization in this particular area to offer a blended learning program. So I believe The present initiative will only strengthen our efforts in the area of intellectual property, teaching and training, and this will immensely benefit our students and the university, and in taking this collaboration forward for the purpose of the goals for which this collaboration is being entered into this afternoon. Thank you very much. I take this opportunity to once again welcome everyone to this program.
Thank you, Professor Sridhar. Now, I invite Dr. Sheetal Chopra from IPTSE and Director IPR Policy Ericsson India to say a few words. Dr. Chopra has about 2 decades of industry experience in public policy, education, research, and government affairs, and is a registered Indian patent agent. She is one of the strongest voices in India around IP issues and is also a terrific speaker. Over to you, Dr. Chopra.
Thank you, Chavi. Am I audible?
Yes, you are. We can hear you.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. I'm super happy to be in the midst of all of you. And it's a moment of great pride to be here to witness this MoU signing between IPTSE Academy and OP Jindal Global University. It's a great handshake, I can say, from industry perspective, seeing two academic bodies joining hand together with a lot of corporates partnering for the same. Today, more than ever, we all know intellectual property is crucial to protecting one's creation. Everyone knows it. And I sincerely believe that this association will bring about indispensable awareness across the institute, even more than what it has been. I'm sure that you all are aware that yesterday, or I believe day before yesterday, Delhi government made an announcement that from every institute, every student, whoever creates something new will be given 2,000 rupees for that innovation. I think that's a great boost. And I'm sure this opens up a great platform for legal fraternity to help support budding innovators. And then I encourage really all the students and faculties from Jindal University to be aware of this fact and maybe come forward to help the community at large. And I'm sure you can do it. On behalf of Ericsson, I wish this collaboration an absolute best. I am very sure that those who are watching this will also register for the talent search examination, which is first of its kind, IP Olympiad. I'm sure there'll be a separate sort of podcast or interaction on this so that you know what this IP Olympiad is, what intellectual property talent search examination is. But I'm certain that this certification from IPTSE Academy, from Ericsson, from Indian Chamber of Commerce, and by the institute will help you in enhancing your CV, in coming up as better individuals. And we will be very happy to see, OP Jindal Global University come up, win this award of best college for garnering most registrations and helping students learn about IP. And then I think I'll be very short in this. I know there are other speakers who are waiting. We all know about the role of IP cells and in-house IP policies. I'm sure that the faculties from and the legal scholars from this institute will come forward and help other institutions to set up an IP policy, which is need of an hour. Given that there is a lot of collaboration now happening between industry and academia, people also need legal scholars and people from finance side who have got combination of skill set who can help in creating different provisions of such IP policies. And I'm sure this association that is now happening in few moments from now, the signing, will create better awareness, more webinars, more interactions. And I would certainly like to thank both the partners, Saurabh and also Professor Ashish, for spearheading this activity along with your teams. And I know Professor Kirti, Chavi, you yourself, and people from IPTSE Academy have done great work in, that we are all together today. It's all because of your efforts. I wish you once again all the very best. Thank you, Chavi. I think I'll close at this stage.
Thank you much, Dr. Chopra. From IPTSE, we are also joined by Mr. Saurabh Sachdeva, who is the director of the Academy and has about 2 decades of experience in the field of finance, banking, education, and strategy. He strongly advocates about the role of IP in facilitating economic growth. Amongst us, we also have Professor Dr. Ashish Bhardwaj, Dean of Jindal School of Banking and Finance. He also serves as the Executive Director of the University Office of Ranking, Benchmarking and Institutional Transformation and is the Founding Director of Jindal Initiative on Research and Intellectual Property and Competition. I now request Professor Ashish Bhardwaj, followed by Mr. Saurabh Sachdeva, to say a few words. This will be followed by the virtual signing ceremony. Over to you, Professor Bhardwaj.
Thank you very much, Chavi. I'm actually in a lobby right now, so there might be some echo. I'm really sorry about that. There's a very interesting party going on, so let me move so that. So if you're watching after a few days, YouTubers, I apologize to you if there's a bit of disturbance in the background of the audio. So welcome once again. I thank all the speakers who've agreed to join us today, particularly Saurabh from IPTSE, Sheetal from Ericsson, Ramanan, our chief guest for this event, who we are very much looking forward to hearing from, and my colleagues Sridhar, Srijit and others from JGU. What I want to do in the next few minutes is, of course, we are very, very excited about the partnership, and I have never done a virtual signing ceremony. I just don't know how it's going to be executed. So let's see what's coming up in the next 5-10 minutes in this virtual signing. But what I want to do in my allotted couple of minutes is to speak directly to students. You could be watching us, listening to us live on YouTube right now, or you might be looking at this video after a few days. It doesn't matter what discipline you are from. It's very, very important to understand how really innovation happens, particularly in a country like India, which has its own set of challenges and opportunities. But a lot of things that we typically take for granted that are really around us on a daily basis are all a result of someone's creativity, if not an individual, then a group or an institution or a special set of people in that domain. But really, whatever you see around us, around you, around me here, has been invented by someone in the recent past. And we have gotten so used to seeing these things around us that we often don't think of them as inventions. We just think that it has just been created and manufactured and put together by someone. Now, we all know the famous Edison bulb, or the iPod and iPhones that we carry in our pocket, the GPS we use on a daily basis, Bluetooth that I'm using and a lot of my fellow speakers are using for their earphones. All of those are really high-tech, very advanced level technological inventions. But they are also around us on a daily basis that make our lives simpler. Right from popping Dispirin, which is based on aspirin, which was patented more than 100 years ago, to using a safety pin, to toothbrush in the morning, to your zippers in your clothes, to Tupperware that you carry in your office or to your college or school. All of these are patented inventions going back 5, 6, 7, 8, and sometimes more than 10 decades. It's very important to understand who are the people who came up with this, why did they come up with it, and what were the factors that enabled them in the process of creating these new exciting things that we now take for granted. There's a very popular proverb that necessity is the mother of invention. We've all heard about that. I want to push it a little bit more. Other than the mother of invention, which is really the supreme level of support you can expect, there are a lot of very close friends and cousins of inventions and innovations that we typically forget about. And these are the practical challenges of life that we confront on a daily basis. And someone sitting somewhere will think, how can I make this simpler? Or how can I come up with a solution to make life simpler for others? It's the adversity in which we struggle with certain problems of daily life that we want to fix, not just for ourselves, but for others. The drive to push the boundaries of technology on a daily basis. And you don't have to be an engineer or a computer scientist to do that. Even people in social sciences can play a role. So this unyielding entrepreneurial spirit is what is behind most of this. It doesn't matter how technologically advanced the step is, there needs to be an entrepreneurial spirit. This spirit is being promoted in schools of India, colleges of India, universities, incubators, even in family-run businesses and SMEs, and of course in big high-tech corporations. it's a very, very difficult, cumbersome, challenging process to nurture this ecosystem in a country like India. And I would like all of you as viewers, irrespective of your disciplinary background or how experienced you are as professionals, please hear the other speakers of this session, particularly the distinguished first former mission director of Atal Innovation Mission, Ramanan, who's here with us. He has managed to do all of this nurturing of the spirit of entrepreneurship at an all India level. So he's not just passionate about nurturing innovation in our country, but he's also deeply committed about the idea of nurturing the young mind who can then come up with innovations that will drive India. It's a big task that he has led. So I'm also looking forward to your address, Ramanan. But before we do that, I want to very quickly appreciate the hard work and dedication of my friends and colleagues in IPTSE Academy, Saurabh Sachdeva, and a lot of his team members who have helped tirelessly with us to put together this partnership. Whatever I said in the past 3-4 minutes is going to be operationalized. It's going to be implemented with the help of this partnership that we are signing today. It's the first step of many things that are going to come up for JGU students across the 12 schools that we have. And we are all very excited about that. So with that, let me hand it over to Saurabh for a few words, and then we'll move on with the signing ceremony. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Professor Ashish. Thank you so much. So I'm thoroughly pleased to welcome you all to the inauguration of the IP Leadership Drive and MoU signing ceremony between IPTSE Academy and OP Jindal University. It's my privilege to address you all on the behalf of the entire team of IPTSE and to welcome all the attendees to this happy and wonderful moment. We are truly delighted with your presence. IPTSE has always worked for the enhancement in the understanding of the benefits of IP amongst students of various streams, and for this purpose, we organize several activities including webinars, conferences, debates, faculty development programs, etc. We are pleased to announce that we have launched the 4th edition of the Intellectual Property Talent Search Examination, the first of its kind IP Olympiad, and the registration for it are now open. Engineering and management students, along with the researchers and members of faculty, all are eligible to take part in this Olympiad. We urge you all are here to participate in this Olympiad and gain the highly coveted IP knowledge. We as a startup aim to achieve great heights and to generate nationwide IP awareness. In this endeavor, the support and cooperation of universities and educational institutes are of utmost necessity. I am glad that we are now joining hands with the OP Jindal University, which is a premier institute working tirelessly to increase the level of education and innovation in our country. I'm very happy to announce that we all have gathered here today to witness the MoU signing ceremony, which will cement the innovation-driven efforts of both the institutions. I hope that the collaboration leads to the greater and the better results. I would also like to acknowledge and thank Mr. Ramanan Ramanathan, Senior Vice President, TCS and First Mission Director, Atal Innovation Mission, who agreed to mark this event with his lecture on this pertinent topic of nurturing entrepreneurship and innovation among young Indians. I'm sure that all the students and our audience will be enlightened by your views. We look forward to collaborating with you more in the future. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Saurabh. I now invite Professor Dr. Sridhar Patnaik, Registrar JGU, and Mr. Saurabh Sachdeva, Director IPTSE, to sign the partnership MoU between JGU and IPTSE Academy and show us the signed copy of the MoU in ink on their respective webcams.
This is interesting. So virtual signing is that you need to show us.
Ashish, you would like to know how it works. So I'm
Yes.
happy with that now.
Mm-hmm.
Step 1, congratulations on the signing of the MoU between the JGU and IPTSE Academy. Step 2,
Excellent, excellent. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and many, many congratulations to everyone. Thank you.
Congrats.
Thank you. Thank you much. We are extremely happy about this partnership. This partnership will enable our students of GGU, particularly the students pursuing BA Honours Finance and Entrepreneurship, many of whom who are going to go forward and become entrepreneurs, to understand deeply about patents, copyrights, innovations, and issues regarding IPR. As Professor Bhardwaj said, creativity and imaginations are skill not limited to a specific discipline or not limited to a few. Students pursuing studies in law, management, business studies, finance, international affairs, journalism, public policy, art, architecture, psychology, and environment at GGU will benefit from this partnership in years to come. There is a lot of effort always required on the backhand to create an ecosystem to support and foster innovation. The Atal Innovation Mission has been instrumental in shaping the innovation policy in India. Amongst us today is the first mission director of Atal Innovation Mission and Senior Vice President TCS, Mr. Ramanan Ramanathan. He has been instrumental in shaping the innovation policy in India and in establishing over 7,000 Atal tinkering labs in schools and across countries, which provided access to emerging technology for more than 3.5 million students. He was also responsible for setting up incubators throughout India and over 2,000 startups. And more than 30% of these startups were women-led startups. So they were 30% women entrepreneurs. And recognizing the importance of women entrepreneurs, we at Jindal School of Banking and Finance stress on having a 50-50 student ratio in terms of gender for our BA Honours Finance and Entrepreneurship course. Further, in the faculty also, we maintain the same ratio, the same gender balance. I once again welcome and invite Mr. Ramanathan to help us learn from his perspective and experience. Over to Mr. Ramanathan.
Thank you, Chavi, for the generous introduction. Good afternoon to everybody who has logged onto the call. In particular, Dr. Sridhar Patnaik, Dr. Sheetal Chopra, Dr. Ashish Bharadwaj, Dr. Saurabh Sachdeva, and Dr. Kirti Pandyal, who are gracing this occasion. And of course, all the young students, the faculty, the mentors who have also logged on this particular virtual call. As Dr. Ashish Bharadwaj said, we are living in a very different world today, driven by technology, driven by digital transformations that are occurring across the length and breadth, not only of our country, but across the world. And therefore, the signing of this MoU between the Jindal Global University of Excellence and Eminence and the IPTSE is not unusual. In fact, that's going to be the trend in the years to come. Virtual reunions, virtual classes, online classrooms, digital technology being leveraged for the purposes of empowering our youth, not only at the school or at the university or at the workplace, but also for businesses, is going to be the order of the day. And before I proceed, let me wish every one of you that all of you are healthy and hearty in spite of this very difficult COVID-19 circumstances, and that all of you are following the safeguards advocated by your local institution, your local authorities, health authorities, or by the local government. Indeed, we are living in unprecedented times. A simple virus has paralyzed countries across the world. It has created grievous disruption to supply chains across the world. It has created grievous disruption to lives and livelihoods, especially in a country like India with 1.3 billion people. It has created tremendous migrational problems for all our migrant workers. After all, India is a very large country. We have more than 650,000 villages in our country, more than 715 districts, and we have more than 8,000 small towns and cities. And most of our development and our livelihoods seem to be depending on the 8 tier 1 cities that we have. And therefore, All our people from our villages and from our cities and our remote towns migrate to these 8 tier 1 cities in order to improve the quality of their lives or to search livelihoods. The COVID-19 crisis has also created national lockdowns under whose effects we are still reeling. More importantly, it has created a fear of uncertainty about what the future holds for us. In COVID-19 world, which is not yet solved or which has not yet gone away, because there are variants of this particular crisis or virus still circulating around, but also of other global pandemics in the horizon. What about issues of climate change that we talk about, that we are fearful of, but we have not experienced its full ferocity? What about the effect of nationalistic fervors gripping various countries, as a result of which supply chains could get distorted even further? So these are all the challenges that we have in our world of today and the world of tomorrow. The United Nations has advocated the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, which are so important for the preservation of our planet, for the preservation of our future generation, and for the preservation of society in general. But at the same time, while all of this seems like doomsday utterances to many of you, we are living in an unprecedentedly creative time of our civilization. We are being aided by the rapidly changing technology that is sweeping the landscape across the world. Technology is changing the way you are experiencing the world and the way the world is experiencing you. Technology has become affordable, accessible, available, and advanced. Technology is enabling you to reimagine a new world, find innovations and inventions that the world has hitherto not yet discovered or thought about. And technology is enabling the rapid access to advanced computing, advanced communication, advanced storage, and advanced processing, whether it is through data processing, big data analytics, whether it is through sensor technologies, and so on. So today we are living in a world which none of us who are speaking today, myself included, have lived before when we were graduating from an institute. And all of you young students who are now part of the OP Jindal Global Institute of Eminence, as well as the law school and the business school of excellence, all of you are tremendously fortunate. And I want to bring your attention to that. You are very fortunate to live in a world where you're riding on the shoulders of giants. As Dr. Ashish Bharadwaj said, today we are experiencing a world which is unlike the world even I was experiencing 10 or 15 years ago. I graduated from IIT Bombay in 1981. And in 83, I had the opportunity through Tata Consultancy Services to go to New Zealand for one of those few projects. TCS at the time when I joined was probably around 400, 500 people. Today, it is a giant of a company with 500,000 people. In this journey of TCS that I have been able to walk through for the last 30, 40 years, it has been amazing to see how technology has evolved, how connectivity has evolved, and how new business models are enabling young students like you to be able to dream a new future. When I was in New Zealand, my parents and my family had to stand in a line at my neighbor's house for a 3-minute telephone call to me. Because A, we did not have many telephones at that time, and there was only one house which had a telephone in our building. And second, a telephone call to an international place was very, very expensive. So they all stood in a line to speak to me for 30 seconds because they wanted to get in touch with me. And this is not very far away. This is not some ancient history. This is 1983 I'm talking about. But today, every one of you is having access to the global internet. Every one of you is packing a smartphone in your pocket, which has the power of many computers. Every one of you is talking about integrated technology like 3D printing, robotics, IoT, miniaturized electronics, augmented virtual reality, 5G communications, wireless satellite speed communications, all of them converging together to be able to provide you the tools, the capability to innovate and to ride upon the shoulders of giants of the past. So that, my dear young students, is the opportunity. The opportunity, and that's why we are talking about innovation, we are talking about entrepreneurship, we are talking about creativity. All of this used to be something that many of us, when we were students, thought could only be limited to a limited set of people who had access to them and who did not have and who had the capability. But innovation is in the realm of every one of us. Every one of you is a born innovator. When you were born, none of you knew how to stand up or to talk. You stood up, you fell down, you stood up again, you fell down, you saw the world around you, you saw everybody walking, you saw everybody running, and you as a young child with whom nobody could communicate, stood up, falling down every time you innovated. You learned how to balance properly, you learned how to start to walk, you started to run, you started participating in races in the national finals, and many of you will be winning Olympics in the future. That is the power of innovation. You didn't know how to talk. Nobody could communicate with you. Just a few sounds were coming out of you, but you watched the world around you. Your native intelligence, which is much stronger than any artificial intelligence in this planet, was able to make patterns, make sense out of what you were seeing. You saw lips moving, you saw sounds coming out, you started emulating them, you improvised, you innovated, you started talking, and today nobody is able to stop you from talking. So that, my dear young students, is something that we all have to remember. All of us are born innovators. Somewhere, as we study, as we grow up, as we interact with society, we start limiting ourselves in thinking that innovation is in the realm of genius. That innovation is reserved for those few people who are going to be scoring high marks in an exam. But nothing is further than the truth. In the thousands of tinkering labs that India has launched through the Atal Innovation Mission, what came out very clearly was that some of the best innovations came from students who were not necessarily the best in the class. They were not the highest academic performers. They were not the people who were getting the highest number of marks. They were people who were able to apply their innovative capability, their creativity to look at problems they see in and around the community that they are living in. And as Dr. Bharadwaj rightly pointed out, where can we improvise? What can we do to do better? What can make life better? Not accepting the status quo, but questioning with a curiosity that is compelling and ensuring that that curiosity is followed by discovery of knowledge that is so relevant in order to solve the problem, and then using the tools and the technologies that are available at their disposal for creating an idea and a prototype of a solution that can be built upon to create a product, a company, a unicorn, and an organization that starts servicing the rest of the world. That's the growth of every company that you have seen and you admire. Any company that you saw started off with this idea of sparking your latent creative genius, your curiosity and your passion for discovery, and for you to be able to trigger that enthusiasm and that spark within you to create an impact. Steve Jobs said, we all should leave a ding in the universe. What did he mean by leaving a ding in the universe? He said, through our lives, we need to make an impact that will resonate across the rest of the world. Now you may think, am I really capable of creating that impact? But every person who has created that impact has asked that question to himself or herself. And they have indeed created that impact. So my dear students, you are capable of doing it. Dream big, said Abdul Kalam in his book, Ignite. A beautiful book that I would recommend every one of you to read, because he ignites your curiosity, your imagination, and your passion to be able to make an impact. Dream big, he said, and you'll achieve great things. Dream small, and you'll be limited by your own dreams. So we all need to dream big. And if we dream big, and you, my dear students, have every reason to dream big. After all, you're coming from a wonderful institute, an institute like OP Jindal Global University of Excellence, a university whose achievements I was amazed to hear Dr. Sridhar Patnaik reeling out, the global recognition that it has already got, the type of resources and facilities and capabilities that are being made available at your disposal, the partnerships that are being signed, and today I have the honor of witnessing with the IPTSE, the ability for you to be able to ride upon all of these ecosystem that is being created for you, my dear students, should become the dreamers and the architects of the future. You dear students, have to become the transformers of India and of the world, because we need that. All the challenges that I talked about are indeed the challenges that need to be solved. We are a country of 1 billion people with 1 million challenges. But 1 million challenges, my dear students, are 1 million opportunities for every one of you to be able to tap into, to capitalize, to solve, to create your own company, and to become the future job creator. Indeed, I would urge every one of you who is here today, become the job creators of tomorrow, not just the job seekers. Gone are the days where we should aspire to be a job seeker. When I was graduating, we didn't have too many choices. It was very difficult to become an entrepreneur. It was very difficult to find the resources and the facilities and the capital to be able to give birth to your idea and spark that idea into a product or into a company. But we are living in a different world. And let me explain to you, just in case, because many of you take this for granted and you don't realize that we have arrived at a point, and I would say a tipping point, a watershed moment in our history where innovation, entrepreneurship can help transform not only India, but the rest of the world. And why do I say that? We are, like I said, 1.3 billion people. That's in a world of about 7.8 billion people. It's a sizable population. But more importantly, we are having what they call as a demographic dividend, which is the envy of many a country. We have 65% of our people under 35 years old. We have more than 50% under 25 years old. That represents an enormous energy coursing through our nation, coursing through the length and breadth of our country, for us to be able to gather, tap into, and enable it to transform India and create the Atmanirbhar Bharat that the Honorable Prime Minister talks about. You have to do it. You have the opportunity, you have the energy, and you can form teams with fellow energetic workers who are having the same dream. And that is why this demographic dividend is such an important role, plays an important role in creating that ecosystem. But we need to empower that young demographic dividend with the knowledge of the latest tools, technologies, and ecosystem to create a spirit of innovation and to nurture entrepreneurship. You see, Indians have never lacked for great innovators, great thinkers, great engineers, great scientists, great doctors, great philosophers, great artists, you name it, India has it. But when they have available to them an ecosystem of that innovation and entrepreneurship that allows them to express themselves to their full potential, they blossom into beautiful human beings. So you have a Satya Nadella heading Microsoft, a Sundar Pichai heading Google, an Arvind Krishna heading IBM, a Shantanu heading Adobe, and several Indians leading world-class universities, whether it be London Business School or the Harvard Business School or Carnegie Mellon or Stanford University or others across the world. What is different from them and you? They come from the same places that we have come from, but they have been able to avail of an ecosystem that helps them to blossom to their full potential. And therefore, the Atal Innovation Mission and several government initiatives is seized upon this to create that same ecosystem of innovation and entrepreneurship across the length and breadth of our country, across the 715 districts, across the 8,000 small towns and cities, so that we create thousands of hubs of innovation and job creation to address the multitude of challenges, and I say the multitude of opportunities for you to be able to address. We have still 22% of our country below the poverty line. We have 44% of our country agri-economy based. We have 115 of the 715 districts called as aspirational districts because they are at the bottom of the pyramid in terms of basic access to healthcare, education, clean drinking water, sanitation, or waste management and affordable housing. We need to be able to solve these problems, but in the solution of those problems lies an opportunity for economic growth. The Honorable Prime Minister in his call to Atmanirbhar Bharat identified 5 pillars upon which India would develop and the world would develop. The pillar of demographic dividend that I talked about. But what does that represent to you, the pillar of demographic dividend? It represents for you an opportunity to educate and empower our youth through EdTech or through startups, which are now focusing on education. Is it not surprising, or is it surprising indeed, that 4 of the unicorns in this year have been edtech startups? In a COVID-19 year, where the rest of the world is struggling for employment or has faced the problems of employment, we have had in this year, in this calendar year, 21 unicorns being born. In the last year, we had 11 unicorns being born. So in a COVID-19 year, in the second COVID-19 year that we are all experiencing, we have doubled the number of unicorns that are coming out from our entrepreneurial youth like you. Isn't that an amazing thing? That speaks of the potential of this demographic dividend. We have more than 1.4 million schools in our country, more than 10,500 engineering and related institutions. We have 39,000 colleges. We have 150 million young students like you representing the power to transform. And we need to empower them. And therefore, I congratulate Jindal School of Business and the Jindal Global University for creating that ecosystem that is enabling you on the journey, on an irreversible, exciting journey of innovation and entrepreneurship. We also, the second pillar that the Honorable Prime Minister mentioned in Atmanirbhar Bharat is the pillar of infrastructure. Like I said, we have 650,000 villages and we have 8,000 small towns and cities. If you want India to grow, we need smart infrastructure. Smart infrastructure that creates the opportunities for the local people for innovation and job creation, which means smart villages, smart cities, smart districts, smart renewable management, smart energy management, smart electricity management, smart water management. Now, what does this word smart, all of it mean? It means you leverage technology which can create an impact. Technologies like 3D printing, which is revolutionizing the way you're able to conceptualize, define, prototype, and manufacture a product right in front of your eyes, from the small Kirana store, from your humble home, or from a very small manufacturing MSME setup, a micro, small, medium enterprise. You don't need a large manufacturing plant today in order to manufacture goods. We have a great opportunity in reducing our import dependency, increasing our exports, because we are on a level playing field. And India has done extremely well in the knowledge capitals that are emerging in the world. We, after all, have a $190 to $200 billion ITS industry that has grown up in a remarkably short period of time, eclipsing the various other countries who have tried to grow in a similar manner. And that is because of this tremendous emphasis on education and empowerment that we as Indians have always culturally placed on giving to our young people. And you are the beneficiaries of that. But remember, a rote learning mindset is no longer going to enable you to achieve and make an impact in the future. It has served us well in the past, but what brought us to this point is not going to take us to the future. What we need are problem solvers, innovators, new job creators, and entrepreneurs who are going to come out from every one of you. And that is the opportunity. The third pillar that the Honorable Prime Minister said is the pillar of demand. We are a country of 1.3 billion people. 1.3 billion people, we are only, by the way, only 250 to 300 million people comprise of the rising Indian economy today. We have the potential because of our youth, and every youth aspires to have a better life than what his parents have experienced or his grandparents have experienced. Every one of them have that opportunity and the desire to change and transform their life. So we are going to be adding another 250 to 300 million people to this rising economy. Isn't that a fantastic opportunity? An opportunity of demand. Now, who is going to cater to the demand? It is young entrepreneurs like you, innovators like you, who see the opportunity, whether it be in agriculture, whether it be in transportation, whether it be in space sector, defense sector, whether it be in smart cities, whether it be in electricity or electric mobility, and so on and so forth. Every innovation has to align itself with sustainable development goals. That's an opportunity for innovation. Many of the innovations that are existing today, including the car or a vehicle or a steam engine and so on, they are polluting the environment. We need to find innovations and technology-driven innovations to be able to create a more sustainable planet. So every innovation that has been done today and you are experiencing is game for change. Change is going to be the only constant. And if you don't grab that change, and if you don't make much out of that change, you are losing that opportunity. And we don't want this opportunity to be lost. We are, like I said, the beneficiaries of three things. One is a demographic dividend. Second is a fast growing economy. We are growing at 6 to 8%, and we will grow from 8 to 10% in the years to come. And we are available, we have available, affordable, and accessible technology. Now, when you have this combination, magic is possible. Magic means innovation. Innovation is nothing but magic that you create out of the imagination of your mind, the curiosity to know the world around you, and the analysis that is required to see how do we solve problems that we see in and around the community. And I'm very, very happy that 50% of your staff and 50% of your faculty are being encouraged to be among the women. You see, 50% of our country is the women and the girl child. When we launched Atal Tinkering Labs, now we have 10,000 of them spread across the country. 70% of them are in girls and co-ed schools. 70% of them are in government and government-aided schools. Only 30% are in the tier 1, tier 2 cities of the country. The rest are all spread all around. And why did we do that? Because you see, Abdul Kalam came from where? He came from the small, humble town of Rameshwaram, a town which many of you don't even know where it exists, in the coastal towns of our country, and a town which is known for maybe there are a few mosques, few churches, hundreds of temples, and thousands of fishing boats. That's what the town is known as. But from that town came one of the finest scientists that India has seen, one of the finest human beings this planet has been graced with, who went on to become the president of our country. We want 1,000 Abdul Kalams to bloom from the remote parts of our country, whether it is from Sikkim or Salem, from Jodhpur or from Jaipur. We want all of them to come out and become the next Abdul Kalam, the next Ramanujam, the next Bose from our country. That is possible. And you, my dear students, you are already studying in a fantastic university in the precincts of Delhi and in the metro cities. So you have even more opportunity to make that impact. The fourth pillar that the Honorable Prime Minister talked about is the pillar of socio-economic divide, this pillar of socio-economic progress. India will improve and the world will improve only when we bridge the socio-economic divides, the economic divides, the digital divides, the divide between the haves and the have-nots. And therefore, many of you or any of you who is interested in social entrepreneurship and social innovation, I would say go for it. Don't think you'll not make money out of it. A great idea is always backed by many people because they see the power of that idea. And that is how the YouTube sensation of Salman Khan or Khan's Academy got formed. Not the actor, but the tutor who conceived of a very simple way of communicating to his niece. That was all he wanted to do, how to teach and leverage the internet through YouTube and other sessions to be able to teach to his niece. See the power of that idea. And where has it led him to? 150 countries across the world have adopted the Khan Academy in their academic institutions. Thousands of people are willing to, whether it is Google or whether it is IBM, are willing to pay him for boosting that particular service. So remember, my dear students, social innovation is as important as commercially driven innovation. And social innovation with the right idea and the right implementation will have the right backing. You won't have to worry about your job or your financial security at all. Indeed, what you're creating is financial security for the rest of everybody. And who is not going to benefit you, therefore, from this initiative? And that's why the Atal Innovation Mission is setting up hundreds of community innovation centers to serve tier 2, tier 3 cities and rural India. I'm aware that OP Jindal Institute has also applied for an Atal Community Innovation Center and they have been selected for the same. And I'm very proud about it. And I do hope that you leverage these community innovation centers, because why are we setting up community innovation centers? We want local communities to drive local innovation and local job creation. That's how you're going to solve the problem of India, where 1.3 billion people are spread all across the country. So we need community innovation centers, and OP Jindal Institute can adopt villages, can adopt tier 2, tier 3 cities, and make sure that you students get an opportunity to become the innovators for that local communities. And finally, the pillar of technology. The pillar of technology has become an integral part of everything that we are going to do. All the other 4 pillars depend upon effective leveraging of the pillar of technology. And therefore, I'm very happy that people like Dr. Chopra, Sheetal Chopra from Ericsson, one of the leaders in communication, 5G technologies, wireless communication, routers, and so on. You know, she's also part of this because industry, academia, government have to come together, and the people and the students have to come together. Everybody is a vital stakeholder, and leveraging the power of technology and technology-based companies supporting you in this initiative is so very important. We need to create the innovations of tomorrow. India needs to create. And therefore, your partnership with IPTSE becomes all the more significant. Many of us didn't even study about patenting. Even though I came out of IIT, I joined TCS and so on, only in the last 5 to 10 years, the importance of patenting has been realized in India. Whereas other countries have been the first to adopt it. They've even patented basmati rice, which is grown in our country. You know, it's unfortunate that many of these things are being patented elsewhere. So I applaud you for, and I applaud Dr. Bharadwaj as well as Dr. Saurabh for having connected together to bring this important knowledge about patenting, intellectual property, creating intellectual property in our country and using it to drive the socio-economic growth of our country. As a great Swami Vivekananda said, for all of this, you need to have extraordinary belief in yourself. Remember, genius is 99% perspiration and 1% inspiration. So I want you to get inspired by this fact that it is only 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration, which means every one of you, you and me included, irrespective of age, irrespective of where we are in our standing in our society, we have the opportunity to contribute and to make an impact. And indeed we should. And as he said, if you have belief in 1,000 gods and goddesses, but do not have belief in yourselves, we are all doomed. So let us not doom ourselves. Let's have tremendous belief in ourselves. Yes, we can, said Barack Obama. And he rose on to become the first Black president of the United States, which nobody thought of or nobody dreamt of. Let us all say, yes, we can. And as he said, as the great Swami Vivekananda said, arise, awake, and stop not till your goals are reached. So may I request every one of you, arise to the challenges, but more importantly to the opportunities that you face in a country like India and the world faces and the world offers. Awaken from within you that latent energy, that talent, that innovative capability that you have always had, but you have not allowed itself to bloom and blossom and give expression to. And stop not till your personal goals, the goals of your family, the goals of society, and the goals of the world, and more importantly, the Atmanirbhar Bharat goals that the Honorable Prime Minister has so eloquently expressed are reached. Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to share a few thoughts on this occasion.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ramanathan. We have a few questions coming in from you. We have a question by our very own faculty member, Professor Kirti Pendyal. He's asking you that, you mentioned about the 5 pillars of, of innovation and technology being one of those 5. But we being a non-technology based institute, how do we encourage our students from the non-tech background to pursue entrepreneurship and innovation and not get discouraged by the excessive focus that is on technology?
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for that particular question. You see, technology is just an enabler. Technology doesn't lead to innovation. Innovation and entrepreneurship is born out of looking at problems that you see in and around the community that you live in, a curiosity about what is the root of this problem, a joining of minds together, maybe by small teams, to say, how can we solve this problem, and leveraging technology to be able to solve the problem. You don't need to be a technologist. You have enough technologies out there. We are having 1 million engineers graduating from our country. That's the power of the demographic dividend that I talked about. But we need managers, we need HR people, we need finance experts, we need law experts, we need specialists who are in marketing and communications. We need all of them to go into a startup. No startup will succeed if they only have a technology person. That is not possible. In today's world, innovation has become a very complex affair, but it can be made simple if you bring the right minds together. And the right minds together are people who complement each other's skills. So you are indeed very much needed. India lacks actually great managers. We lack people who are very familiar with law, with finance, with business acumen. How does an idea get converted into a product or a company? For that, you need to have business acumen. You need to be able to drive business, but you can leverage technology. You can be a user of technology. So don't be ignorant of technology. Being ignorant of technology is not going to help you, because then you're not going to know how to optimally leverage technology for the benefit of your startup, of your company, or whatever organization you're working in. And there are many people who are out there. I mean, today, look at, even if somebody says, I'm an electrical engineer, right? And I studied computer science. But do I know all the features of all the programs and programming languages? No. But I know the power of programming. And I know that there will be experts who will continue, because all of technology is having an expiry date today, which is much lower than even the COVID vaccine. You have a technology which is changing rapidly. And therefore, the knowledge of whatever you have is going to become outdated within a year. Nano computing, supercomputing, advances in artificial intelligence, blockchain, these are all just coming in and coming in. The important thing is to know what each of them can do, and then to tap the appropriate expertise and team up. That's why it is very important for you to, when you think of a startup, look at how somebody in your team is familiar with how to leverage technology if it is not a technology startup. I mean, edtech startups, they are not leveraging great technology, but they're not a technology company. They're creating education content, but they're using the internet and the platforms to be able to disseminate that content. So this should never be a barrier. Always remember that you are a problem solver. And if you're a problem solver, every tool that is available at your disposal, including technology, becomes a vital portion of your armor to deal with innovation.
Thank you, Mr. Ramanathan. We have another question from my colleague from Jindal School of Banking and Finance. Professor Ashavri is asking that what would your advice be to the women entrepreneurs?
Very good. Thank you so much for asking that question. Like I said, one of the important things that is there today is we have tremendous opportunities for women, not only to succeed as entrepreneurs, but to be leading major businesses. 33% of our Atal Incubator startups are led by women. And that number is growing almost the last when I heard, it was 675, now it is more than 700. This was just a couple of months ago. And so the number of women-led startups and women-led entrepreneurs is increasing. But it is a fact that India has among the lowest women entrepreneurs in the world. We have only 13% of our entrepreneurs as women across the country today, 13 to 14%. And that's not a desirable number. We want 50% of our entrepreneurs to be women, because again, technology is enabling them to become entrepreneurs from where they are. There are many limitations that were there earlier for women to become entrepreneurial, to be able to, unless you're in a metro city and access to capital and access to reach to the customer and all of that were issues. But today you can be an entrepreneur sitting down at home. Your one room in your house can become your office and everything else. And you can become a women entrepreneur. If you want to do a manufacturing setup and so on and so forth, you have many, many affordable mechanisms to do it. And there is also a lot of backing for women entrepreneurs today in India. You can see that because many women have proved themselves among the topmost echelons of our country in terms of, banking. We have Bhattacharya, who has headed SBI, the largest bank, one of the largest banks in the world. We have Kalpana Chawla, we have Tessie Thomas, who is the missile scientist of India. I mean, you name it. In Atal Innovation Mission itself, we had more than 50% of our composition as women in our team. And I think AIM did much better because of that than anything else. So I would encourage, but what we need, there are three elements which I think every university should also focus on. One is, how do you empower them? Second is, how do you spread awareness and education in rural areas so that they know that these are the opportunities available? And third is, how do you ensure that you build women mentors women will get very inspired if we have more women mentors who have been there, done that, achieved it. And therefore we need to, take that active step of recognizing them and projecting their achievements to the rest of the women entrepreneurs so that they can also rise and do. And, if anything, our Olympics has shown that our women athletes performed probably far better than the men did. And that should be a source of great inspiration to every one of us also. One other point I want to share is this: in the Atal Tinkering Marathon, which we launch every year. In the last Atal Tinkering Marathon, we had 50,000 students participate. This is an annual marathon where we ask students to create innovations and submit their innovations for our consideration and selecting the best, the creme de la creme from them. We had 50,000 students participating in it, and 8,000 innovations got submitted, and we selected the top 200. And in the top 200, what did we find? 45% of the winners were girl students, 45%. Now, isn't that an amazing thing and a very heartening thing for us? So what it revealed to us was, and we actually studied this a little closer, we found that the girl students were much more innovative, because we don't have 50% enrollment, by the way, in schools. So that means 45% girl students, featuring in the top 200 is an incredibly more percentage than what the percentage of enrollment is. But what we found is that A, they are great communicators. Second, they are able to multitask much more easily than the boys do. Third, they form teams very quickly, and they rely upon each other a lot better. The guys are a little diffident. They want to solve the problems always by themselves and not seek help, or not wanting to show that they seek help when they need help, right? And the fourth thing that we found is that they were able to reach out to beyond their community to solve problems, which is very important. Innovation means the boldness to ask for help where you need it, and where you don't have access to it, you have to ask for it. And you have to get it to solve a problem. Otherwise, you will take your own time. By the time 10 other people would have solved the problem, and they would march ahead of you. So I think everything is going great, but we need to encourage it at a societal level, and we need to be able to recognize women entrepreneurs and achievements a lot more.
Thank you, sir. I think we will just take one last questions from the viewers. And the question is that how can JGU replicate the success of institutions like IITs, BITs, and I would like add IIMs to that in creating an entrepreneurial ecosystem?
I would say, don't try to replicate anything. Believe that you can be even better. Why are we trying to replicate successes here? This innovation itself means doing something differently. So think differently, and you will be able to replicate, not only replicate, but even do better. And by the way, through the Atal Innovation Mission, I come from IIT Bombay. So, I have seen how IITs work and so on and so forth. They get the creme de la creme of students. And obviously the creme de la creme students, because of the filtering processes, they always do better. In terms given the opportunity and given the ecosystem. And many IIT students also have gone abroad, but many of them are staying back. We need thousands of IITs, and what we don't need is 1,000 IITs, but 1,000 in imbibing the spirit and culture of IITs. That's what we need, right? We need the ability to give world-class education, world-class university, and a world-class university comes with world-class teachers. And world-class teachers don't necessarily come at a price. They come out of passionate teachers who are able to empathize with the student and stir them to their highest potential. A great teacher is always one who is able to stir them to the highest potential. But what are some of the other practical things that I think universities can do, which is not being done? See, every one of you have a chief placement officer, but do you have a chief R&D and innovation officer? And that chief R&D innovation officer should be interacting with every company which comes to you for placement. Say you also should see how you can promote innovation. Now, what do you mean by promoting innovation? You can tell that industry that we need an interaction with you on a regular basis to understand the challenges that you are having and transform them into projects that our students can take up from an innovation point of view or from an entrepreneur point of view. because this is going to help you. So you are moving then away from this idea of interaction with with industry partners purely from a placement point of view. That's what every university does. They want to, if you see on their thing, we have 100% placement record. Great thing to be proud of. But can you say we have 100% innovation record? That is, our students are very innovative and they have actually experienced innovation through innovation projects that they have done. And now when you do that, your students will automatically get placed. There is no question about it. But they will also have the opportunity to become entrepreneurial and innovative. And that's what I would suggest every university should do.
Thank you, Mr. Ramanathan.
Thank you.
We are very much thankful and grateful to Professor S.G. Srijit, Senior Professor of Law at Jindal Global School and the current Executive Dean of JGLS. JGLS, a school that has been ranked #1 law school in India as per the QS World University ranking, to give his special remarks.
Thank you very much. And I consider myself truly honored to be part of this event. My job is just to conclude a matter which is going to have a great beginning. So it was great pleasure that I witnessed this moment of collaboration between IPTSE Academy and Jindal Global University. Thanks to Jindal School of Banking and Finance for this wonderful initiative. I'm sure that Jindal Global Law School is going to be one of the biggest beneficiary of this collaboration due to the many core and elective courses on intellectual property, including some advanced courses in intellectual property law, which the law school offers. The participation of the law school, its students and faculty members in the grand initiative of Jericho, which ultimately made the law school a knowledge partner and resource partner in the policy making in the interfaces of intellectual property, competition law, and technology, has actually enabled the law school to be a beneficiary of this venture. Our students and faculty members have been active partners and knowledge creators and also disseminators when it came to intellectual property. What's interesting from all this is that the legal perspective has been the enabling perspective in all these initiatives. That means somewhere regulation is seen as the biggest and the finest means for an innovation, for building an innovation architecture. In other words, law is being seen as actually the means for designing and rebuilding the world. We have seen immense interest among the students of the Jindal Global Law School. They have been driven by an inquisitive spirit, which ultimately becomes a motivation for innovation. To the extent, a Jindal Global Law School student obtaining an Indian and the US patent for a technology he invented called methods and systems for managing the usage of a plurality of battery units to power an electric vehicle. This is the finest illustration of the technological spirit among the students, irrespective of the disciplinary divides. They understand that technology is a means for achieving human excellence. They find a strange comfort in dealing with the technology, whereby technology becomes a subject matter of their analysis. Technology becomes a subject matter of human social evolution. Now, this interest in the law school ranges from themes like building regulatory architecture for innovation, legal protection of disruptive technologies, and many ethical questions surrounding the same. The necessity of FRAND in antitrust matters, and to deep theoretical and philosophical questions around intellectual property rights. The IPTSE Academy's activities complement so well with the activities of the Jindal School of Banking and Finance, and also with that of Jindal Global Law School, and many other schools of JGU, not to forget. It adds on to the learning ecosystem in Jindal Global University, and the certification of the IPTSE will be the finest testimony to the talents and competencies of our students. Obviously, that certification is going to be the right to represent and participate in the national and the global remaking. I look forward to seeing a fruitful collaboration and days of mutual work and success ahead. Thank you very much. Thank you for honoring me by allowing me to be part of this initiative.
Thank you very much, Professor Dr. S.G. Srijit. I would like to inform all the participants and viewers that IPTSE will soon be conducting a webinar to explain in detail about the Olympiad and the exam and the benefit it has for the students and faculty. Also, please note that registrations for the IPTSE Olympiad are now open. This will be the 4th Olympiad. Once again, I thank all the speakers for their valuable time and input. We are extremely grateful to you all. We are thankful to all our participants and viewers today, and viewers who will be watching this session proceedings from a few days from now. With this, we conclude the session here today. Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.